Previously, we met a Brahmin rancher outside the Ultra-Luxe casino named Walter Pheeble. He asked us to go inside the Ultra-Luxe casino to kill a Brahmin baron named Heck Gunderson, whom he accused of cheating him. Once inside, we learned that Heck Gunderson is missing his son. We discovered that the maitre d' of the Ultra-Luxe, Mortimer, was secretly dabbling in cannibalism behind the back of Marjorie, the founder of the White Glove Society, who disapproves of cannibalism. He kidnapped the son of Heck Gunderson and was storing him in a freezer. There were then two ways to solve this case. We can either side with the cannibals and convert the White Glove Society members back to cannibalism, or rescue the young Gunderson and return him to his father. In our last video, we completed the quests Beyond the Beef and Pheeble Will using the good endings. Though I don't know if we can really call it good, it's more morally gray. But there is another ending, an evil ending. To get this ending, we go back in time to the point before we talked with Mortimer about the investigator that came to the Ultra-Luxe looking for the missing bride.
How may I be of service, madam?
Instead of asking him about the private investigator, which arouses his suspicions and sets us on a path to become assassinated by his goons, we can instead say, "I've heard your group dines on human flesh."
Ah, yes. I've heard that one too. Jealous people say such nasty things. I feel sorry for them.
So, it isn't true?
I can assure you that the only thing the White Glove Society is guilty of is preparing the tastiest cuisine you'll ever sample. That is, of course, if you can afford it.
We can then pass a speech check of 62 to lie and say, "I, too, know what it is to feel the craving. How can I support your cause?" Note that if you have the cannibal perk, this speech check is converted into a cannibal check, and it's no longer marked as a lie. In effect, the cannibal perk removes the necessity of passing this difficult speech check.
Good. And you know what it is to be discreet in matters of nutrition. Perhaps you can help me. I'm in a bind. I've been planning an exquisite society dinner, but there's a bit of a problem with the main course. He's got a powerful and temperamental father.
Now, we could always attack by saying, "He's the least of your problems right now, cannibal."
You barbarous cur.
But no one heard him admit that he's a cannibal but us. So in the eyes of the other society members, we just murdered their maitre d', and we gain White Glove Society infamy. This is counterproductive, both if we want to side with Mortimer and if we want to do the good ending. So instead, we can say, so the main course is a person?
Yes, the wrong person. We scouted the right one for weeks. The heir to a mercantile empire, sort of a black sheep. He cut ties with his family and left their estate to wander. He was ideal, corn-fed and well-to-do, but no one to miss him if he were to disappear. Unfortunately, the trap my subordinates set for him failed, and as he escaped, he saw their faces. Now he's wary.
What did you do?
I asked for a last-minute replacement, and they stole the son of the most dangerous Brahmin baron in New Vegas while he stayed at this very hotel. Needless to say, this could be a disaster if things aren't put back the way they should be. And I still need somebody reputable to serve for dinner. Strictly speaking, we're no longer allowed to eat people. But I'm hoping the right person and preparation might sway Marjorie to see things my way.
At this point, we can always say, "You know, I think you have the wrong person for this job."
Perhaps I do. Forget I mentioned it.
And without putting up a fuss, he retracts his offer. Or we can express our interest and say, "Tell me what I need to do."
I need a replacement, and I need the boy taken care of. The replacement must be healthy and well-bred. One can't very well make steak from gristle. With so little time, we'll have to go after our original choice, Carlisle St. Clair. He lives in a shack north of here. For freshness, we need him alive. If you could send him here or knock him out with this and drag him into the dumpster next to his house, we can do the rest.
And with that, he gives us a cattle prod to knock out Carlisle St. Clair. Wouldn't putting St. Clair's body in a dumpster give it a terrible taste?
Not this one. Empty. I don't believe it's seen use since before the war. And what would the point be, really? Who would pick up his trash if he used it? But for our purposes, it should keep his body safe and hidden until my cohorts can recover it.
What about the boy you already kidnapped?
Ted Gunderson is his name. It would be simplest if we could convince him this was all an unfortunate misunderstanding. But if he won't listen, we can't very well let him go. He'll have to be slaughtered and served. Then we wouldn't need the replacement. But you would need to deal with his father, Heck. Perhaps if you could smear some of Ted's blood around his father's hotel room, you could frame him.
Couldn't Heck just claim intruders killed his son?
No. Everyone he meets, he tells the same story. That his son disappeared from the casino, not from his room. He'll look guilty.
All right. I'll do the job you proposed.
Splendid, splendid. The boy is being held in the kitchen beneath the gourmand. Here are some keys that will allow you access to him. The elder Gunderson is staying in our penthouse. I understand he's hired security, so be careful if you go up there. And our Mr. St. Clair resides to the north. He rarely strays far from his house, and he's surrounded it with booby traps.
Now at this point, we can still resolve the quest in a number of ways. But I showed off the ways whereby Ted and Heck live in yesterday's episode. So today, we're gonna kill him. Mortimer gave us a key to the Ultra-Luxe kitchen, and we see that the door is no longer red. We can walk back here even if we don't have an Ultra-Luxe costume on. However, we still suffer from the same scripting issue with the stairs that I explained in yesterday's video, so we need to take the elevator. At the end of the hallway, we enter the kitchen, and the biggest difference we notice is that the chef Philippe is not here. He doesn't appear if we're doing this quest siding with Mortimer. We can then head to the storage room and use the key Mortimer gave us to open the freezer. Here we find the young Gunderson.
My daddy's gonna kill all you bastards once he finds out what you done to me.
I'll make sure you don't live to tell him.
The hell you will.
On his body, we find Ted Gunderson's blood. Scooping it up in big handfuls, we now have to frame his father for his murder. To do so, we head back up the elevator and past the Brahmin spits to enter the gourmand. From here, we leave the gourmand and head towards Mortimer. Now remember in episode 1, we explored this small hallway behind Mortimer's reception desk. In the middle of the wall, we find the double-door elevator to the Ultra-Luxe penthouse. Mortimer gave us a key to this elevator, but the door is still red because this is Heck Gunderson's room. They gave him the penthouse because the Ultra-Luxe was potentially negotiating a deal in Brahmin steak with Heck Gunderson. Once inside, we find ourselves in a small sitting room. Turning right, we find the bedrooms, 2 bedrooms separated by a privacy screen. And then to the northwest, we see a door. Goodness, this really is a penthouse suite. But we recall Mortimer telling us that some of Heck Gunderson's guards might be here. So creeping through the door, we can round the corner and take them out. We see that the penthouse suite has a private pool. My goodness, Heck Gunderson, staying in style. There's a staircase off to the northwest, but first we're going to head into the northeastern room. This is a huge dining room. And of course we see Brahmin steak set out on the table. We can loot a few bottles behind the bar, but that's really it for this room. Heading to the pool, we see that it's really shallow. It's not deep enough to swim in. Guess it's a wading pool. And then we can head up the staircase to the northwest. This leads to a loft, and on the top floor of the loft is the master's suite. With our hands dripping in the blood of Heck Gunderson's son, we can smear it all over his bed. We're almost done. To finish incriminating his father, we can head into the bathroom, whereupon we find a sink. We can use the remaining blood to smear it all over the sink. And with that, we successfully frame his father. As we leave, we can head over to loot a wall safe, which is unlocked, and inside we find 95 caps. Heading out of the penthouse, we can go around the divider to check in with Mortimer.
Any word as to our arrangement?
I planted the evidence in Heck Gunderson's room.
You made it past his guards, then. Excellent. Send a Securitron up to his room. It's programmed to investigate anything suspicious.
Okay, so now we need to find a cop. Heading outside, we see a number of Securitrons rolling around, but there is one Securitron in particular whom we need to check in with. I found him wandering around on the southern side of the strip.
What is it, citizen?
I heard sounds of a struggle in the Ultra-Luxe penthouse.
You've done the right thing, citizen. Reporting struggles, scuffles, and tussles is the civic duty of every man, woman, and child. Thanks to you, we can all sleep in our beds a little sounder, knowing that swift justice awaits those who take moral shortcuts for personal gain. Rest assured, I will apprehend the perpetrator and see him or her punished, even though in some ways, evil is its own punishment.
Wow. Did House program that grandiose speech? Seems a bit out of character for him to do that. He rolls off, but I presume he'll find his way into the casino, racing back to the Ultra-Luxe. As soon as we enter, we find the Securitron confronting Heck Gunderson.
Heck Gunderson, you're under arrest for the murder of Ted Gunderson.
What in blazes? That's my son you're talking about. He ain't dead. I'm looking for him.
It is my duty to inform you that murder is a serious crime. As a murderer, you should be feeling emotions such as guilt, sorrow, and shame. If not, you may wish to consult a mental health professional.
Where's my son? What'd you do with my boy?
I hope this experience has taught you an important lesson about the value of human life.
You can't do this to me. This is a mistake.
Dead or alive, you're coming with me.
The hell I will.
Stand back! Stand back, citizens. Deceased bodies are a known source of illness and a potential tripping hazard.
I love the bit about a potential tripping hazard. At any rate, Heck Gunderson is dead, and we can now check in with Mortimer.
Any word as to our arrangement?
I framed Heck Gunderson and sent a Securitron to arrest him.
So the Baron has slaughtered his last brother. How delightful. He was a pox on our business. He would have driven the price of beef down to the point where any poor wretch could afford it. Can you imagine? But now we can price it even higher, create a new luxury market. Not for you, of course. You'll get a special discount.
And if we check in with Marjorie, she says,
To think Mr. Gunderson, a cold-blooded murderer, is simply chilling. But his arrest ought to instill faith in our patrons that murderers are not welcome to gamble here.
And we did exactly what Walter Phoebus asked us to do. We killed Heck Gunderson and his son, Ted. We can then head outside and check in with the man outside the Las Vegas Boulevard station.
Howdy. Good seeing you again.
I have news about the Gundersons.
You have? What are you waiting for, kid? Spill the beans.
The Gundersons are history.
Both Gundersons gone? I'll be damned. You are one of a kind. This deserves a good compensation, kid. How does that sound?
I don't charge for good deeds.
You don't want anything in return. That's rare in these times, got to say.
In which case we lose out on the cash, but we gain a bit of karma by murdering a man and his son. Or we can accept the fee. Sounds good, Walter.
I'm a man of my word. Here's your money. You've earned it.
In which case we get 1,500 bottle caps, since we killed both of them. But we don't get the karma. This is probably the most expensive karma exchange in the vanilla game. But this is only one way to side with Mortimer. Remember, he also told us about the original target, a Mr. Carlisle St. Clair. Now, killing Ted is of course best if we're trying to complete Pheeble Will, but if we're not doing that quest or we just don't want to kill Ted, we can instead go find this Carlisle guy. But first we need to head back into the kitchens and escort Ted from the freezer. Because we're freeing Ted with Mortimer's permission, even though the guard catches me here, he doesn't attack, unlike in yesterday's episode. Then we bring Ted back out to the gambling floor and return him to his father. Now, just like in yesterday's episode, we can at this point spill the beans to Heck and tell him the whole story, unveiling Mortimer's role in the disappearance of his son. If we do, we complete Beyond the Beef, and Mortimer says,
You double-crossing snake. I have nothing to say to someone so lowly and ill-mannered.
we miss out on the evil rewards. So the best way to complete this quest the evil way is to lie and to say that we don't know who took him. In this way, we can still get the Strip and White Glove Society fame. With Ted Gunderson returned, we can now check in with Mortimer. I convinced Ted that it was all a terrible misunderstanding.
Good. Having his father's attention cast upon me was the last thing I needed. Now, if you can lure Mr. St. Clair out of his home and into captivity, and he's still disease-free, I shall breathe a sigh of relief.
Now we need to track down this St. Clair fellow. Thankfully, Mortimer gives us the coordinates of his last known location. To find him, we head to North Vegas Square. And from there, we walk northeast off towards the mountains. Here we find an abandoned shack. And outside, a man that doesn't look like he lives in an abandoned shack. Carlisle St. Clair III. We could simply kill him. But if we do, we fail beyond the beef. That's right, Mortimer wants fresh ingredients. And it's not going to be that fresh if we have to carry him all the way back to the gourmand. So instead, we can talk with the guy.
Keep your distance. Who are you and what do you want?
Oh, I'm just here to talk.
Yeah, what about?
You don't seem like you fit in here.
That obvious, huh? Yeah, I'm not from around here. But where I'm from, they don't want me, so that's just as well. Really, with my reputation, there aren't many places I can go that'll have me. My own family's blackballed me, and they got a lot of clout.
What's so bad about your reputation?
Oh, sure, that's all I need. Someone telling people around here about my reputation. I'll be run out of here before dawn. Forget it.
Alternatively, we can pass a guns check of 45 to say, look out behind you, and then pistol whip him when his back is turned.
Are they back?
Gah! But apparently we did it too much. This kills him, and we fail beyond the beef. So looks like we gotta choose another option. Or we can pass a 45 speech check to say, joining the White Glove Society could clear your name. They're respected.
I've heard of them. Ultra-Luxe, right? Yeah, that'd be a step in the right direction. They'd never have me, though.
Talk to a man named Mortimer. He's looking for some big-name new members.
Yeah? Okay, maybe I will. Hell, anything's better than this. Thanks.
In which case, St. Clair jumps up and disappears. Presumably he walked back to the Ultra-Luxe and right in to Mortimer's freezer. If we choose this option, when next we talk with Mortimer, we can say, I sent Carlisle St. Clair to come and speak with you.
Of his own volition? My goodness, you are very professional, aren't you? Well, he's sure to be a hit at our next banquet.
Alternatively, we can say, you keep tilting your head off to one side. Is your neck okay?
It's been stiff lately. Since I was attacked, I've been afraid to sleep in my bed. I know, it's irrational. Now I can't hardly sleep at all. I just nod off from time to time. I'm so tired.
We can pass a strength check of 7 to say, hey, I can get that out for you, and apply a sleeper hold.
Oh, that feels nice. I can already feel myself.
In which case he passes out, and we can drag him to the dumpster. Or we can pass a 45 medicine check to say, try breathing deeply 3 times and then blowing on your thumb.
Really? Is that some kind of ancient Chinese secret or something? Well, what the hell. I'll try anything once. Here goes.
How does that work? How does that work? What the heck? Okay, let me do it right now. Nope, still here. All right, I am a little lightheaded, I will say. But I'm still here, ladies and gentlemen. Didn't pass out. At any rate, it seems to have worked in the Fallout universe. Or we can pass an unarmed check of 45 to say, did you know there's a nerve in your neck that helps you sleep? And then strike the nerve.
Ouch! What the hell? I don't think that did any... Ah!
Which works wonders. No matter how we choose to knock out Carlisle, we now have to drag him to the dumpster. Let's see, I'm just gonna set him up here on top like this. Oops. I hope I didn't snap his neck right there. He's okay. Let's just sort of fling him on there. Yeah. There we go. Stay. Okay. Now to put him in the dumpster, we have to stash the body. And with that, he's ready for refrigeration. Or, if we play a female courier and we have the Black Widow perk, when he asks us what we want, we can say, I want your naked body, stud. Go into the dumpster and I'll meet you after I change.
The dumpster? That's filthy. I can't tell you how much that turns me on. Takes me back to my youth when I used to fool around with the help at our estate. I shouldn't, but it's been so long. And when is this ever going to happen to me again? Okay, you're on. Don't keep me waiting, gorgeous.
Oh, yuck. This guy was having some major second thoughts, but I guess his urge was a bit too strong. Choosing this method, we don't have to stash him in the dumpster. He climbs in himself. If we inspect it, we don't find anything there, of course. But the final option is to do it the way Mortimer initially suggested, and that's to use the cattle prod to knock him out.
Here we go.
But this is dangerous. Our companion doesn't understand that we just want to knock him out, and if we have a companion, he'll likely kill Carlisle. So making sure we don't have a companion, we can try again.
Ugh. You like that?
And after a few thwacks with the cattle prod, we stun him, and he passes out. We can then drag him to the dumpster. Incidentally, we can enter his shack, but there's not much here, though his bed is a safe place to rest. All we find is a whole bunch of bottles of empty booze. No matter how we choose to get him in the dumpster, when we return to Mortimer, he has the same response. I trapped Carlisle St. Clair in the dumpster outside his house.
Just as I asked. What a magnificent relief. By now, barring any more bungling, my underling should have him on his way here. You have done very well in keeping this business low-key. I appreciate your discretion. I'll be sure to drop your name during our functions. I hope you understand what a tremendous boon this will be to your standing in society.
But there is one final way to resolve this quest. Going back to the point where Mortimer first offers us the quest, if we have a human companion with us, we can, in a hushed voice, say, "Would my companion here make a suitable replacement meal?" And Mortimer has a unique response for each human companion. With Arcade Gannon as a companion, he says,
He's a little thin, but he looks like he comes from good stock with that strong jaw and upright posture.
With Craig Boone as a companion,
Perhaps a little rugged, a little gamey, but he's in good shape and looks healthy.
with Cass as a companion,
From the smell of her, I'd say we can skip the whiskey marinade. But other than her liver, she seems to be in working order.
and finally with Veronica as a companion, he says,
Her skin has a certain supple quality to it, doesn't it? She's kept it well. How mouth-watering. Very well. If you're able to convince young Mr. Gunderson to return to his father, replace him in the freezer with your friend and we'll have a deal.
Then, after returning Ted Gunderson to his father, we can take any one of our human companions down to the kitchen. Once there, we've got to coax the companion inside. We don't find any dialogue option to do so. Usually they just follow you in. But even when I ran to the back of this freezer, Arcade stayed outside, so I had to go outside and push him in, which was really frustrating. Then, we access the freezer terminal and click Engage Lock. And with that, we doom Arcade to become a meal for Mortimer and the White Glove Society. Don't worry about Eddie, he doesn't get locked into the freezer. As soon as we zone out to another room, we find him faithfully running behind us, but Arcade is gone forever. Sadly, Arcade didn't have anything to say about this before or after we lock him into the freezer. And no matter which companion we choose to lock away, Mortimer has the same response when we return to him. I left one of my companions in the freezer for your enjoyment.
Wonderful. You have come through with flying colors. On behalf of my colleagues, allow me to extend my thanks. I know what a terrible sacrifice this must have been for you.
Did you succeed in turning the White Glove Society back to cannibalism?
We'll know after tonight's banquet at 7 o'clock. I'll only be telling everyone what they've eaten after they've eaten it. That way, they will all have crossed the same silly taboo. They'll have to reconsider it, even Marjorie. It's all image with her anyway. She just needs to realize the only difference between savage and sophisticated is the proper seasoning.
That's right. We need to wait until 7 p.m. So waiting until 7 p.m., we can infiltrate the members-only area, but we don't get to hear the speech. Presumably, if we choose to side with Mortimer, anytime we enter the members-only area, he has already given the speech. But if we wait until the next day, now that the 7 o'clock dinner is over, we can check in with Mortimer.
Ah, you're back. You're always a welcome guest here.
Did you manage to revert the society back to cannibalism?
I certainly did. Philippe created an extraordinary amuse-bouche from the flesh of the Gunderson boy. Everyone at the banquet loved it. I told them what it was, and the room was quiet for a moment, but then we all had a hearty laugh.
He says the same thing about an amuse-bouche, no matter whom we trap in the freezer, any companion or Carlyle. What's next, now that the White Glove Society has tasted human flesh again?
Now that it's been accepted, it will become a regular course for us. It's a new and exciting frontier for our chef. I've never seen him so cheerful.
Will you serve human flesh at the Gourmand?
Oh, I very much doubt that. What fun would it be if everyone could have it? Then again, I wouldn't be surprised if our chef used it here and there as a secret ingredient to make his dishes really come alive.
And then we can head into the Gourmand to check in with Marjorie to see how she's faring. So, how's your new cuisine faring?
Why, it's splendid. Simply to die for. Mortimer told me about you, you know. What a pair of mischief makers you two are. But the new entrees are fresh and bold, and I have the two of you to thank for it.
What? It worked? Wow, I guess Mortimer really did know Marjorie. She has lost all of her squeamishness about cannibalism now that she's a cannibal herself. Incidentally, this is the way we need to complete the quest if we want to please Caesar while siding with Caesar's Legion during the primary plot of the game. The final place to explore inside the Ultra-Luxe is the Bon Vivant Suite. This is our player home. We're rewarded with a key to the suite upon winning 11,250 chips while gambling here in the casino. But compared to the other player homes we get, at the Lucky 38 and the Tops in particular, it's really small, though it is exceptionally clean. No bloodstains, no burn marks, no holes in the wall, and the bathroom is immaculate. The only downside to actually using this as a player home is you do have to get through that greeter upon entering the casino, and he strips you of your weapons, which effectively makes hotkeying any of your weapons impossible, as it gets removed each time you enter and exit the casino. And with that, we complete Pheeble Will and Beyond the Beef from every angle. Which ending do you think is the best? Now, clearly the best rewards are the evil ending if we choose to kill both Heck Gunderson and his son. We can not only walk away with both White Glove Society and the Strip fame, but also 1,500 caps. But rewards aside, which one do you think is the best moral option? Which do you think is best for the Mojave? I'll tell you what I was thinking while doing this quest. It's not that straightforward. After all, we do learn during the course of the quest that Heck Gunderson is not a good guy. Walter Phoebus is right to be angry at Heck Gunderson. Heck Gunderson has used mercenaries and thugs to push people off their land. He has used his power and influence to corner the Brahmin meat market, and he forces societies with starvation if they displease him in any way, which is one of the things he threatened to do to the entire Strip after learning what the White Glove Society did to his son. He's not a good guy. And his son Ted is really a spoiled brat. Despite being an adult, he's entitled, probably hasn't worked a day in his life, coddled by his father, not really a sympathetic creature. Despite all of this, I don't think that the best response is to murder them both. Cannibalism aside, we're still an outsider to this entire situation. We're still relying on rumor to judge the man, whether the rumor came from Walter Phoebus or by word of mouth through Chauncey. His threats against the Strip did come from his own mouth, but he was speaking in a highly agitated state. He just learned that these people tried to eat his son. I'm sure any number of us would have said similar things in his situation. And there is more to this story that we're not hearing. Walter told us when we suggested suggested holding his son hostage, that Heck might not even care about his son, but clearly he does. We find him in a terrible state inside the casino, and when he learns what happens to his son, he threatens to tear the world down around him. Ultimately, I don't think we really know enough about Heck Gunderson, his business, or the Brahmin ranchers off to the west to become judge, jury, and executioner of this man and his son. I doubt he's an innocent man, but I don't think the morally best option is to execute him. And so in my gameplay, I sided with Walter's wife, Ethel, and convinced Walter to let go of his vengeance. The rest of the story for me was easy. Now, there are some extreme circumstances where one may be forced to contemplate cannibalism, but this is clearly not one of them. If the Mojave and the Strip is so rich that the Ultra-Luxe is suffering from an overabundance of Brahmin meat, so much so that they fear Brahmin meat will no longer become a delicacy, which means they can't charge high prices for it, then they don't need to eat human meat to survive. They're doing it because they're gluttons. They're doing it because they're snobs. They're doing it for the taboo. And they're certainly not doing it with the consent of those whom they're murdering. I struggle with accepting cannibalism even in the most dire of situations. Stranded at sea on a boat, freezing to death in the mountains. Do we wait until one of our traveling companions dies and then eat his body? Or do we murder him while his flesh is still warm? I just don't know if there's ever a situation where cannibalism can be considered acceptable. But even if there was, this is not one of them. But what are your thoughts? What decision did you make in your game? I'd love to find out. Share with me your opinions in the comments section below. I publish new Fallout videos every single week here on my channel, so if you want to make sure you don't miss my next one, be sure to subscribe and to click that bell notification button. I have a brand new shirt in the shop. Cheer, cheer, cheeriest. Celebrate your love of colorful, bubbly soda with this shirt that comes in a variety of both men's and women's sizes. You can also find my shirts in a wide array of colors. My designs come on other products as well, smartphone cases, mugs, posters, prints, etc. So if interested, you can find a link to my shop in the description below, or you can click here. If you like what I do and you want to support me in a more personal way, consider becoming one of my patrons on Patreon. But more than anything, I'm just so glad you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week with more brand new videos.
Humbly at your service. In what currency would you like your payout? Non-caps currencies will have fractions paid out in caps. Caps it is. Will there be anything else? A pleasure doing business.